Hey everyone, of course, welcome to the next edition of Forum Bites. In this episode, we're going to have a conversation about the hints and tips that have been learned globally on how to run your meetings virtually. And I suppose more to the point, not only run them, but make sure they're also very successful. So the very first thing you have to do for your meeting that you're going to be holding virtually is actually make sure it's set up correctly. Obviously making sure the comms to everyone that it's happening and where it's happening, whether it's on Zoom or any other platform you've got, to make it easier for people to find and access the meeting room easily. The other thing as well is, of course, obviously make sure they all have great internet coverage. Now, I know that's an easy thing to say, but it's really critical that during the virtual meeting that everyone is on video. If you're having an intimate team meeting, you need to be able to see everyone, not just hear them. Because if you can only hear them and not see them, the engagement isn't where it needs to be. Sometimes people don't have great internet and they need to know before the meeting starts, not during it. Because there's nothing worse than having someone within the meeting where every third and fourth word is missed out because of bad internet. It brings the meeting down. If someone cannot get great internet, to be honest, they can't come. The other setup as well you need to do is, I'm sure you're going to be setting up things like timekeeping, you're going to be setting up other things around the place, but primarily one of the things you need to set up with a virtual meeting is to make sure you also have a meeting manager. And it's normally not the person who is actually there running the call. It's actually more the person who's there just to make sure that everyone is on point. You know, small things like making sure everyone's muted when they need to be, make sure the agenda is being held to, make sure the comms can be done like behind the scenes. For example, you may be able to send an SMS to one of the team members to tell them to quiet down their audio, or their video isn't working properly, or where have they gone on the video. Just someone there to help manage the meeting behind the scenes. Because if you don't, you'll end up getting distracted on trying to do those important things to keep the meeting moving forward, rather than the person who's managing the meeting focusing on the value. And the other part as well, obviously, is any pre-reads, like with EO, of course, the 5% reflections, making sure they are sent out ahead of time. Making sure they're set out, maybe they're shared on Dropbox encrypted folder or some other way of sharing them, so that the information is read beforehand to save you time. It's not going to be as easy as when you're in the room together to be able to read a piece of paper or see someone giving a 5% update. It's far better to have it beforehand so you can make sure the connection is still actually there. Now, the next step, of course, is obviously the meeting. Now, when it comes down to the meeting, one of the largest things you have to think about, which Danny from EO here in Australia actually spoke about, and a lot of others actually have got their own checklist out on the same page, which is outstanding, from Philadelphia. A lot of different people have got these checklists, is making sure that your location is a good one from the point of view of giving a safe space. Now, what I mean by that is Danny made a very good point from the point of view of in the background, making sure you're not in a location which may actually give the impression that other people are around you. You need to find a location that is secure, that you're not going to be disrupted in, or people aren't going to overhear. It's not a good idea to be sitting in, for example, a cafe, for example, with your headphones on, which is great. People around you may not hear anything. They may not even understand anything. But the people who are watching your video will see the people around you, and then they won't share the 5%. So it's really important you find a location that is secure, that is private, that you won't be interrupted in. And usually doing it outside or in a cafe is not a good idea. Find somewhere in your office, even in your house, but make sure no one can hear or no one's in the background. It's very distracting in a private meeting seeing someone behind you having a conversation. The next one, of course, around the location, running through the meetings, is its timing. Now, most virtual meetings on average around the checklist that I've had a look at usually run between 1.5 and 2.5 hours. This makes sense primarily because it's not a face-to-face. But you need to, of course, naturally make sure there's still breaks within the meetings, like normal process. But it is going to be a cut down event, and you may actually, for example, only have one presentation instead of possibly two. You still gain value, but you aren't necessarily having people drift off or having other distractions come into it. An audio-video meeting isn't as engaging as being in person. We have to accept that fact. And the thing is sometimes cutting it down its time makes sure that people are still engaged and don't get distracted. Because watching a screen for a very, very long time, especially even with my eyes, can get very, very tiring. And here's one of the largest distractions that I've seen, and also it can be, I suppose, insulting for people making presentations. When you are on the video call and the video meeting, be present. Turn off all distractions. Don't leave your email dinging in the background. Don't leave your phone on vibrate or on ringing, or put something else in the background. I'm assuming you're going to be doing it on your computer, so it's going to be distracting you. The worst thing I've seen on a digital meeting is someone is having a conversation and someone else is clacking away, typing an email out because they forgot to turn their volume off. It is even more important to be present at these meetings. Please do so. Don't just get up and leave your video running and you'll have an empty chair for someone. It's just like if you're in person and they're making a presentation in your forum and you answer a phone call. These are designed for a safe space to share. Make sure you follow the normal protocol of your forum, even though it's virtual. Now, of course, there is a lot of other items online. I'll leave some links that I find below so you can have a look at some other suggestions on how to run them. There's some other videos on how to actually run Zoom meetings or whatever you use to do them. But I would highly recommend you follow the normal process, because there's enough in our life right now that's going to be unusual. Keeping your forum date and time is really important. Now, I'm about to go outside and film my Grateful Journal in my personal account, because, to be honest, I've got to make sure I keep my own mental state. But as always, if anyone's got any questions whatsoever, or even further comments of what you've done to make your virtual calls, please leave in the comment section. And if you haven't subscribed already, you know what to do. Just hit that subscribe button now. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.